Hey guys, it's Brother Jernigan here. Um, Wanted to make another little video because, honestly, man, my wife is still a practicing witness. So, with me being this fellowship, it's always like we're having these conversations and it's like talking to, like talking to the wall. Their mind control is very, very complete. But we got into a conversation about the cross, or the stake, as we have been taught. In my research, and in my private study, and in my devotion to God, I find that one of the wisest rules of thumb is what Jesus said. Jesus said, "The witness of two is true." The witness of two is true. So if the Jehovah's Witnesses want to tell you that the two witnesses came and went from 1914 to 1920 or whatever, if they want to tell you something strange about the 666, if they want to tell you that Jesus Christ died on a stake and not on a cross, things like this, things that and then what do they tell you? They say, if you want to do research, then research in our publications. Like, if the two witnesses came in 1919 or whatever, then wouldn't we have heard about it from some other source outside of the witnesses? But the Lord Christ is the one who helps us out with this, because he says, the witness of two is true. Now he says about himself, he says, if I witness to you about myself, then my witness is false, but there is another that testifies on my behalf. So first of all, witness of two is true. This is why I started to kind of question, well, after I found out what I found out about the organization, I started to question everything. Really, when I found out it, I kind of almost had a nervous breakdown when I started even questioning whether there was a God, because I felt raped. I felt like, I don't know if you've ever been cheated on by like your girlfriend, or your boyfriend or whatever, but that little feeling you get, that ice cold feeling that you have in your heart. You go take a shower and you just cry for 45 minutes. When you found out that somebody was unfaithful. That's what it was like when I discovered the truth about the truth, quote unquote. So, anyways, getting back to the cross, right? Now, I'm not going to go into archaeology. I'm not going to go into writings and everything like that. I'm just going to stick with the witness of two is true. Okay? Because you didn't hear this whole stake thing. Now, the Christians were burned at the stake. This means they were tied up and they were set on fire. Okay? Joan of Arc, I believe, is the most ready reference that pops up in my head. But this was a grisly thing that I believe the Catholic Church was doing, was tying people up to a wooden stake and burning them at the stake. But I don't think history lends any credibility to the Jehovah's Witnesses' whole deal about Jesus Christ. Now, guys, I'm just going to look at this from the standpoint of the Bible. This is what this channel is for. How long was he up on the cross? And I'm saying cross because I believe in cross now. But how long was he up there? 6 hours? Was he being tortured for 6 hours? Now look at that picture. I think when you clickety-clack on the video, you'll see a comparison between what the witnesses believe and what I believe. When you see Jesus Christ hanging there, defying all laws of physics, okay, for 6 hours, okay, and he's nailed one time through two hands, okay. Now, even still, like you put two hands together first of all above your head, okay, and then think about how they nailed them together. This is not a natural position. Now think about, like, when you're torturing somebody, the idea is to prolong the torture. You're torturing them, so you're prolonging the torture. Okay. Now, even in their own pictures, even in their own illustrations, Jesus Christ is hanging there, and his torso is like contorted. I mean, he's stretched out, because he's got his hands above his head. Like, with your hands above your head like that, your diaphragm is stretched to its limit very, very, very quickly. Okay, you're not going to hang up there for 6 hours. It's just not going to happen. Logically, right? It's not going to happen. Think about it. We're overturning the lies of the devil. Okay, when it comes down to it, and guys, I am a full-blown apostate. Okay, if you haven't noticed by now, this is my label. So if you're a practicing witness, know that they called me an apostate because I asked questions and they had no answers, and the Spirit of God started to lead me. But there's the whole nail thing. Now let's talk about the nail, okay? Because I believe in 3 nails, the witnesses believe in 2 nails, okay? Now if you think about that one nail, right? Think about all the weight of the Lord bearing down on the one nail. It's very painful, okay, to imagine, okay? But it's not practical because physics. Okay, think about it. You got one nail. This is a stretch point. Okay, it's a stress point. Excuse me. If you got 2 nails, left and right hand, the stress is spread out between those 2 nails. Okay, and it's still very painful. Okay, but again, remember, you're trying to prolong the torture. He would have died a lot quicker, if his arms were above his head. Okay, there's no blood flow there going there. His arms are already numb, after 5 minutes. Okay, like after 5 minutes, if his hands are above his head, it's very precarious. It's an awful, thing too. So, for the reason that they say that Christ died, anything that you go to the witnesses with that has a cross on it, they're like, oh, we know this is a lie because we know the Lord Christ didn't die on a cross, he died on a stake. Well, who says that? Is it only the witnesses? Okay, because if it's only the witnesses, the witness of 2 is true. The witness of 2 is true. If I had heard anybody else saying what the witnesses are saying, then I could, give them the benefit of the doubt. But what does Jesus Christ say? He says, if I witness about myself only, then my witness is false. So think about all the things that the witnesses have ever told you, that they're the only ones that tell you. And then they tell you to do research out of their own books only. Okay? So, that being said, okay, now look at Jesus Christ. Now, even like for the cross, now there's 4 corners of the earth. You look at their picture, they have him up there. They don't have the crown of thorns on his head. They got him up there looking like a bodybuilder with all stretched out. But there's a practical reason with the 4 corners on the cross, okay? His arms are wide open. That's the altar, okay? The cross is the altar. He's waiting there with his arms wide open, like the POD song. I think it's POD. Or no, Creed. Arms wide open. But, he's stretched out to the right. He's stretched out to the left. He's got the crown of thorns up to the north, and then his feet in the south. It's a symbol. It's a symbolic thing. But if the stake is the altar, right? There's only one piece. Even look at it from a biblical point of view. You had Abraham and you had wooden pieces. Okay, you didn't have a wooden piece. You had wooden pieces. Remember, Isaac was stretched out on wooden pieces. Even up on top of Mount Carmel, you had Elijah when the fire came down. Okay, and he had wooden pieces. Okay, there's always wooden pieces. Okay, so there's 2 pieces. Like, even still, when you think about a tree, right? It says that he was hung upon a tree. Look at the tree. The tree's got its right hand spread out to the right and its left hand spread out to the left. Okay, even the tree, even if it's a tree, right? It's not a tree. It's a pole. If he's hanging up there, with his arms above his head. Okay, so it's a conversation stopper for Jehovah's Witness if you mention a cross, but I surely believe that it's a cross. Woe to the ones who change the written word, right? Who add to and take away from. So that's my 10 minutes, guys. Just wanted to get that out there, but I'm very interested in your own research. What will you find? But if you're a practicing Jehovah's Witness, please, instead of ridiculing and pointing the finger and calling names and changing the subject, logically, first of all, please find me a secondary source, for one. And for two, have you considered the impossibility of 6 hours in such a position? Okay, the Lord would have succumbed a lot faster if he couldn't breathe. Okay, he can't breathe if he's stretched out like that. His arms are wide open. He was hung on a tree. So anyways, Brother Jernigan, and always nice to talk to you guys.